Brilliance Audio presents Black and Green by C.L. Stone, performed by Natalie Eaton. Coda called my name with such a desperate tone in his voice, so eerie that I'd never forget it. A heavy twist of emotion had captured my heart that week. At camp, I'd been with a group of girls who had stressed me out. Being with them meant I was being torn away from a group of guys I wanted to stay with. The guys, on occasion, also seemed to encourage me to go with them, as if pushing me into it. However, by displaying what an emotional wreck I really was, somehow that had convinced a council to stay with my group. The boys then fought over me, enough that I couldn't help but think they'd split over me. I didn't think I had any feeling stronger than the anxiousness I felt over the 9 guys who argued about whether they could share a unique relationship with me. Not until Coda called for me in a panic, and I was rushed out of Victor's home and into North's Jeep. Coda drove. His hands were tight against the wheel. His lips pulled back until his teeth were bared, clenched. He wore the same dingy jeans and a sweater he put on at the last minute before running out the door and getting into the car. Nathan sat next to him in the passenger seat. His reddish hair was askew as his window was cracked just enough to let some of the cool air in to combat the sun beating into the windshield. His hand was stuffed up against his face as he leaned his elbow against the door, glaring at the trees and traffic going by. I was crammed into the rear seat between Victor and Gabriel. Shoulder to shoulder, they too stared out the windows on either side of them. I could only look forward, at the miles closing in on returning to Somerville, to Sunnyvale Court, where my house was, where my father was. The others were forced to stay at Victor's house to collect laptops and supplies, just in case. The fact that we had to prepare for anything made it difficult. I sensed it, even from the inside of the Jeep. The silence, the tight mouths, the clenched hands. They'd been in an argument and now had to work together. My father was back, and from the way Mr. Blackburn had described it, he was calling the school, asking for Mr. Hendricks or someone who could bring me back from school camp. That's where I'd told my sister I'd be. Coda had been the last of them to speak to me as we were leaving the house.
If he came home to check in and found you gone, he might be worried something had happened to you. Remember, he's just as desperate to keep your background a secret. Now that your stepmother hasn't been around to keep you at home, he's probably worried about exposure, especially now that you know, and you could tell anyone.
It was dangerous that he was calling around for me. While they were capable of monitoring the calls and redirecting any call to designated academy people who would say whatever we wanted, someone like Volto, or if one of Mr. Hendricks's people were watching the house, disaster was waiting for me if my father made any mistakes right now. The twisted knots in my heart tightened with every mile as we got closer. Despite the panic, I was still in turmoil over the argument I'd overheard. Gabriel had held my hand, and the more they argued, the closer he got, until near the end to where we were clinging to each other. We'd stared silently into each other's eyes, knowing what the other was thinking. It can't end. We had to stick together. The more they fought, the more it was obvious to us. We had to find a way to convince Coda. Mr. Blackburn had been right. Coda was the core of the team. Without him believing in it, the others would doubt. We would fail. We would break. I folded my arms over my stomach. I put on fresh underwear, no bra, a bulky sweatshirt that I suddenly realized might have been Luke's because it was baby blue and too big for me, and cotton shorts. They were the first thing I had seen inside that were my size. I didn't recognize them, and for all I knew, they weren't shorts at all. but one of the boys' boxers, and I was too panicked to notice the difference. I dressed quickly inside Victor's closet, not daring to waste time.